G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm just going to go for a drive and talk today just to change it up a bit. I'm on my way to go and visit my Uncle Jimmy, who's just going through a few health challenges at the moment. So my wife Paula and my sister-in-law Elpida have been busy in the kitchen making some kokinisti kota with rice and risogalo. So I know that these foods are my uncle's favourites. So I've decided just to jump in the car and head down to Camden. It's about an hour's trip. So what I thought I'd do is knock off two birds with the one stone. And whilst I'm driving, heading to my uncle's place, I'll deliver a 5am club and add one more video to the sub-series that I'm working on at the moment, which is entitled All That I've Ever Learned from Anthony Robbins Over the Years. This is episode number 37, which is a significant number for me because I'm doing 365 videos in total. Number 37 represents a small milestone, the achievement of a small goal. I'm 10% into my target. So it's important, and Anthony Robbins reminds us about this all the time. It's important to have goals, but within those goals we need sub-goals so that we know whether or not we're on track or off track, and it can give us a sense of progress, because as Anthony Robbins reminds us, the most important thing is not to focus on perfection, but to focus on progress. So the fact that I decided to do this in the first place, and it is a mammoth goal, there's no two ways about it, to be able to put together 365 videos of learnings which will last in terms of their length, between half an hour and 40 minutes, is of itself a tall order, a big challenge. But similarly, when I decided back in 2020 to generate 1,000 vlogs for my YouTube channel, Jim's 5am Club, that too sounded far-fetched. I remember doing my first vlog whilst driving to work, and then my second and my third, and before I knew it, I was well on the way. I'd put together 300 vlogs without any notes, without any prompting. It was all just from my heart, from my memory of the books that I'd read and the leaders that I'd learned from. So this year, following my attendance at UPW 23, I decided to try and just capture all of the things that I've learnt over the years, given that I've been to 3 UPWs, 94, 95 and 23. I've not only read, but I've also studied intently 2 of Anthony Robbins' great books, Unlimited Power and Awaken the Giant Within. And I've also listened to a number of his tapes and interviews where he spends time chatting with people who are leaders in their field and trying to identify the key elements, the half dozen things that these people do to make them world leaders in their field of expertise. So one thing that I want to talk about today, whilst I've got your time, and it was at the UPW this year where Anthony Robbins said something that was quite profound and something that really rattled me to the core. When he talked about the importance of the frame of mind, our mindset, and how we view our surroundings has a big input and a big influence on how we live our lives and how we accept the ups and downs and roundabouts in a way which allows for dignity, allows for empowerment, and it allows us to use all of those things that happen in our lives as stepping stones, as opportunities to grow, to bend, to stretch, and to become a little bit different, but also a little bit better than what we were before. And Anthony Robbins talked about a few experiences in his life where he was confronted with the knowledge, with the facts that one of his key workers, somebody who he trusted, somebody who he looked up to and depended on, was ripping him off. And he just blew up. He just exploded, he said. He just went absolutely crazy and used a number of expletives and really got worked up. But what he realised, and what we all realise as well throughout our lives, is that when you get angry, when you get upset, you don't really change anything other than make things worse for yourself and for those around you. And at the end of the day, things in our lives are not going to be perfect, and things don't always work out as we expect them to for various reasons. Sometimes it could be fraud or criminal acts, but other times it could be just incompetence, lack of focus, lack of guidance, lack of commitment. I don't know if I said commitment, but things don't sometimes go according to plan because people drop the ball, and we all drop the ball from time to time. We can't be focused 100% of the time on all the things that we need to be focused on, because that in itself is very tiring, and for many people it's it's an incapability. And as things go, future generations and the current generation are going to have even further problems because of their lack of their ability to be able to focus and to concentrate for long periods of time, because of the lack of reading and the lack of discipline in learning. So what Anthony Robbins said was that rather than just flying off the handle there and just being angry and upset and overwhelmed, he learned to sit back and just to say that, well, this is curious, and he just tried to figure out what went wrong or what is going on and try and use it in order for him to grow and develop, and to use it as a learning, as opposed to something that was going to be a threat and something that would cause him distress and trauma forever and a day. And then following that sort of discussion, the next point is the one that really got me. It was really, really profound, where he said that we need to look at the world, we need to look at people around us through different eyes need to be more empathetic, and we need to see people, all people, as if we're on the one team. They're not opponents. They're not people who get up in the morning whose sole mission is to cause grief and to destroy. I remember years ago I worked at a place called Advantra, and one of the project managers, the PMs, an Indian fellow, Sastry was his first name, I forget his surname, but I can still remember his face now when we were talking about this. And he said, James, at the end of the day, he says, and this is a little bit controversial, not everybody connects with what I'm about to say, but I found it quite productive. He says, James, at the end of the day, there really aren't any evil people in the world. He says, all the things that happen which appear to be evil happen because people, governments, communities, religions, families, tribes, clans, all of these have differing interests. They've got different interests, different priorities. And because of these differing interests, people see the world differently, and because of that, they behave differently. So this is something that he mentioned back then, and it made a lot of sense. And it aligns to what Tony Robbins is saying, is that we shouldn't see and distrust everybody around us, because that's going to make things worse. You're not going to be able to work with that productively. He said that what people need to do is to change the way they see their neighbour, change the way they see the people around them, and to give them credit, but to understand, of course, that we are different from each other, we are different for each other, and to understand that there are differing interests, and people behave differently because they want or they need different outcomes in their particular life. They need to educate and feed their children. They need to pay the rent. They need to do lots of things, and that's just a normal part of living. And it's something that we shouldn't really feel bad about, but to understand that it's something that impacts everybody. So where does this lead us? How can we use this? And the way we can use it is to understand that wherever you go, when you look at a person, you look at their face, to understand that they're a person who are somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's father, brother, cousin, work peer, employee. And the majority of people are trying their best with what they've got. And it's important to understand they're trying their best with what they got, because not everybody has the gift of having received lots of love in their lives. Lots of people don't have the gift of having an education. A lot of people don't have the gift of health, physical health or mental health. And it goes on and on and on. So Tony Robbins says that not only do we have those sorts of challenges, but we also have another dimension that we need to appreciate and take into account, that all people are at potentially different seasons in their lives, seasons being summer, spring, autumn and winter. And he talked about the fact that you can attach ages to seasons, or you can attach experiences to seasons as well. He said that when you're under 20, you're in the summer. When you're under 20, you're in the spring. When you're from 20 to 30, you're in the summer. 30 to 40, or 30 to 50, you're in your autumn. And then from 50 plus or 60 plus, you're into your winter. And also within each of those categories, we've got stages and phases and chapters, where chapters start and chapters finish. So we all are living in parallel to each other, but we're all experiencing a different present. I am here, you're somewhere else. You may be in a different time and space to where I am at this moment. You could be listening to this video in a decade from now. So we're all different. The other thing he talks about also is that not only are we having a different present, a different here and now, we are also experiencing or have experienced a different past. Every person has experienced a different past. Even if they're identical twins, even if they're joined at the hips, even if they're Siamese twins fused together, they're going to have a different past, because there are going to be different experiences that colour their lives. They're going to be different ups and downs. There are going to be things that are going to impact them in different ways based on how they interpret the stimulus and what happened, and whether or not it was good or bad, painful or pleasurable. And each person lives a different life, even though we all think that we're living the same life because we're in the same time and space. Generally, the reality is that we all are living a completely different reality to anybody else, because we can live a lifetime, and that lifetime is made up of slithers of reality, moments, a concatenation of moments. And what Anthony Robbins suggests here is that each person can only really capture a slither of reality, because you can't be omnipresent. You can't be in all places at the same time, even though we try to with social media. But you can't. You physically can't be in all places at all times. So all we're doing is we're getting moments of reality. We're capturing slithers of reality, and we're storing those, and we're interpreting those. And all of these slithers of reality help create a thing called our worldview, how we see things, the lens in which we interpret what has gone on in the past, what is currently going on, and what our perception is in terms of what's going to happen in the future. So these lenses that we have are coloured by our own experiences, by our own slithers of reality. But interestingly enough, they're also influenced significantly by other slithers that we inherit from other people. We inherit stories, we inherit traditions, culture, we inherit fears, we inherit a stack of things from our environment, things that we haven't really experienced ourselves, but things that other people have handed to us, and based on their interpretation will colour our interpretation, and based on the trust that we have on them we'll accept it or reject it. But these other slithers of reality, other people's reality that we add to our own reality, once again expands and distorts our own worldview. Because the mind is an amazing sort of thing, but it can also be a destructive thing as well, because the human brain adds, distorts, overreacts to certain things, and unless you're aware of how it works and the limitations that it has, it can influence you in a negative way. So what we're saying here is that we need to override those limiting fears that we have, that limiting worldview that we have generated and accumulated, and have those stories ruminating in our heads over and over again. And by the way, Anthony Robbins also reminds us that we can also go back and change those stories and change those slithers of reality, but that's a topic for another day. So, within a lifetime, we've had good moments and bad moments, and sadly most people tend to rely on and remember those traumatic moments that they intently focused on and maybe gave too much of a meaning to, when in actual fact it wasn't as bad as what they thought it was. But because they focused on it with emotion, they ingrained it, they gave it a higher weighting in terms of meaning, and then it's harder to displace because it's there and it just stays there and it just keeps on coming back again and again and again. But we can change. Anthony Robbins reminds us we can change in a heartbeat. We can change in an instant. And no person is fixed to any particular view. You can use your physiology, you can use your thought patterns, you can use a lot of things to change your past, your present, and your future. So getting back to what we were saying there in terms of this one team, Anthony Robbins reminds us that when you look around, we are all brothers and sisters. We're not enemies. We're not opponents. We're not people trying to outdo each other in a negative way. But if you see people like that, chances are your body language is going to give them the feeling that you're also like that as well, and bring out the tiger in them as they bring out the tiger in you. But if you see people through loving eyes, if you see people, as we said before, as somebody's sister, somebody's brother, somebody's child, somebody's grandchild, God's child, a gift from God, then you're going to treat them a little bit differently as well. You're going to be a little bit more patient with them and not too short with them, knowing that they're doing the best that they possibly can with what they've got at the season that they're at, and we need to meet people in the season that they're at. not in our season. So we need to show and express and offer empathy, which is basically trying to understand their life through their eyes, walking in their shoes, as opposed to arrogantly thinking that we know better and that we can fix all their problems, whilst we've got scotomas that don't allow us to see our own shortcomings, which is basically the way we are. We're really good at understanding and seeing other people's shortcomings, but we're not able to see our own. And the reason why we can't see our own, according to Tony Robbins, is that we've got these things called scotomas, blind spots, where everybody else can see it, but we can't see it. Unless, of course, you're honest, unless you ask for feedback, valuable feedback from people that you trust, who can tell you what they see or what they feel. And it may not be how you feel or what you're trying to portray, but sometimes your body language gives away what's going inside your heart, what's going inside your mind, what's going inside your world. And this is where it's very, very important to be reflective from time to time, not to spend too much time and too much of your life being reflective, but being reflective in a productive way. So what more can we learn? The important lesson, of course, is to live with compassion to other people and to try and help wherever you can by not getting in their way, by not making things worse for them. Because I don't know about you, but I know about myself. If I've got people trying to fix me all the time, then I just bloody become stubborn, and I just don't allow them to do anything of that sort. So a key sort of lesson to consider, and I'm sure that we're all pretty much the same. The other thing I wanted to chat about is that at the end of the day, we just need to spend time, quality time with ourselves, and helping us make the improvements that we can make in our lives, and to also help others as well. Because another profound thing that Tony Robbins talks about is that you don't need to spend a lot of time with other people. Other people don't need to spend a lot of time with us to have an impact on our lives. I look back over my life and I've had school teachers, I've had neighbours, I've had sporting coaches who just said one thing and it changed the way I saw myself in a good way. So once again, it's something to think about, that you don't need to spend a lot of time with a lot of people to have an impact, and just to understand that and to appreciate it, that it's a key sort of lesson for all of us to appreciate. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. As you can see, it's a beautiful afternoon. I'm heading to my uncle's place in Camden, and I just hope I haven't taken the wrong road based on the chat that we've been having here on Jim's 5am Club in the sub-series All That I've Learned from Anthony Robbins over the years. And yeah, we'll see how we go. So wishing you all the best. I look forward to coming to you from a different place with a different message of empowerment, tapping into all of the wonderful lessons that Anthony Robbins has been able to leverage, given that he has actually read, he claims that he's read over 700 books, and a lot of the material that he quotes and uses and the examples that he has are based on the OPE, the other people's experiences that he's been able to tap into, knowing very well that at the end of the day, we learn just as much from our peers than what we do from the greatest teachers in the world. So there you go. Thank you very much, and we'll chat again shortly. Bye for now.